The Jarrod Thomas Show podcast, anywhere podcasts are found. Anywhere, absolutely anywhere. Anna ROSBURG joins me today. She is the general manager of the Alerus Center here in town. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So the Alerus Center has gone through a bunch of changes, and in the interest of full disclosure, I am currently the chair of the Alerus Center Commission. Yeah, oh yeah. So just I want people to understand that when we talk about things, I might sound like, oh man, JT sounds like he. Yeah, well, it's because Anna makes sure that I'm up to speed on just about everything that goes on in that building. The reason, though, that one of the reasons, really the first reason, a little bit of a ripple with cashless facility. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of walk us through what that means? Is it completely cashless? Like if I don't have my card, I can't get a hot dog type thing? Or is it going to work towards that? Or what does it really mean in practice?
Right. We would never not give you a hot dog. We'd find a way. And I think that's kind of the nature of the Alerus Center is we try to be ahead of the curve. For North Dakota, we try to play like the big boys, even though we're in a tertiary market, right? We book big shows. We try to be ahead on the technology. We're going towards cashless, and we use quotations because we're always going to have a way to accommodate. So if somebody comes in or gives their kid a $20 bill, we're not going to turn them away. There's always going to be more than one place where they can come and exchange that cash for a card and go to the concession stand. But we're doing a slow rollout. So we're not supposed to advertise it, but there's going to be a point of sale at every location where you can, other than like bars that are portable, every fixed location, you can still use cash for a little while. But the goal is when we go cashless, it'll speed up lines. It'll be less labor, less staff, less risk from a fraud standpoint. Not that we think that we have that going on, but it's just one of those things. So there will always be somewhere a friendly face that you can exchange your cash in for, and we'll always make accommodations. That's how we, that's kind of our nature. So
I've thought it interesting that when this announcement was made, one of the very first questions that I was asked as just kind of a guy that's just a periphery kind of dude in all of this with my unique relationship of being on the air and all the things was, well, then are you going to have what is called a reverse ATM?
We're not. So instead of doing a reverse ATM, I think we priced these out during COVID, and I want to say that they're like $10,000 or something each. I would rather have a staff member be your reverse ATM, right? So like you just come and do that with a person. And we're always going to take cash at the box office, at the Trans Systems box office. So if you're coming to buy tickets, you can use whatever method of payment. But no, the concept of the reverse ATM is great. I don't want somebody who's maybe already frustrated because they're old school and all they carry is cash, already frustrated. I don't want them waiting in a line for a reverse ATM. I'd rather have a friendly face that can interact with them. And maybe buy them a beer if we need to. Well, if they're really mad.
There's that. Do you anticipate a ton of heartburn? Has this gone fairly well in other markets that you're aware of that's gone to this method?
Yeah, I think most of the big venues have done it. I would say that we're not unique in that. They see increased per caps, so what people are spending, which helps on the revenue side. And as you know, with your relationship with the Alerus Center, it's very difficult for us to turn a profit. Mm-hmm. These venues aren't designed to do that. We're economic engines. But we have a unique goal in Grand Forks where we try to have economic impact as our mission with an asterisk like, hey, try to be in the black. And so there's probably 50% of the years that we can be in the black and some we just simply can't. And so we see the data is faster lines, increased like per cart, per transaction dollar amounts, which helps the bottom line of the venue. And also less labor at the back end. Like we've got cash on a big concert, we're counting cash till 5 a.m. And we don't have to do that anymore, which is going to be nice. So a lot of those benefits. But yeah, I mean, I think like we've gotten some backlash on social media because social media, right? But it hasn't been a ton. And actually a lot of people have come to our defense and were like, we don't carry cash anyway, or, the US Bank Stadium does it or whatever. So I think there's some of that. And I believe Shields Arena is already doing it in Fargo. So a couple like keyboard trolls, but overall, and we're going to accommodate. So bring your $20 bill. We're still going to find a way.
I have found the link to Dave Ramsey to be rather interesting. Apparently Dave Ramsey, who by the way airs on KNOX radio from 6 to 9 most every night.
Shameless plug.
Has apparently spent quite a bit of time talking about going cashless, either in a facility like the Alerus Center or just cashless in your life, denounces it, saying that you do, as you just pointed out,
spend more money.
You do spend more money, and it doesn't feel real sometimes when you want one beer or two. I'll just take two.
Girl math. Card.
Yeah,
Card.
right.
Yeah.
And so there's been, I thought it interesting reading some of the social media contents ahead of this podcast today, which, by the way, takes a laser focus to put on, that was a concern from some people who are suddenly so fiscally responsible that they don't want to bring their cards. They want to have the ability to spend cash. Yeah. Are we out of the check game completely?
Oh, yeah. I don't think we've been in the check game since I've been there, 8+ years.
What about cash for parking?
Nope, that will still be on a card reader, which the majority, and again, we looked at data for all of this too, like how many people are actually using cash. I would say parking, everything was 50% plus was already cards. So, and certain shows, that demographics obviously are different. There was some events that were 80-90% card. And then I would say football is like the one that has the most cash, and that was still probably 60-40 when we looked at the numbers. We've been talking about this for several years. So again, it wasn't like let's do this overnight. We had to re-network the building, make sure that our technology is up to speed, that we can handle that. But parking is going to be a quick like tap, Apple Pay, whatever. The concern with parking that I have is that those card readers, when it gets super cold, sometimes they shut down. And that scares me. So we're always going to have a backup out there as well. We're never going to have somebody like drive through the line, wait in line to get in, right? Because infrastructure, we can't just, it'd be cool if we had an off ramp onto the highway, onto the interstate. If anybody's listening, it'd be really helpful.
Anytime, that'd be great.
Especially with the All True Sports Complex coming online. But I think parking is a challenge for us. And so we're always going to have something. Like, we're not going to turn a car away if they're like, oh, I have $15 in cash. Okay, cool. We're going to have one cash bag out there to like handle it, but we're not going to hand 30 cash bags out anymore. So we're going to mitigate. But we're certainly not going to turn someone away. We did do a lot of testing with those card readers that we use for parking. Like, we put them in our deep freeze in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And did some testing to see like, okay, they say that they're good for -50, but do they mean it? They're not used to North Dakota winters, right? Like, these salespeople are from wherever they're from.
Yeah. Someplace warmer.
Someplace warmer, which is everywhere.
Which is everywhere, yep.
But yeah, so we did some testing with that, and I think we have a good plan in place. So parking will be cashless as well.
Did you, and this isn't to take a shot at the Ralph Engelstad Arena or Jody Hodgson or anybody, did you try to get them to come along?
I did. And Jody and I have a great relationship. He's the best. I respect the heck out of him. I think maybe someday they'll go that direction too, but they weren't ready to do it this year. And we try to stay aligned on things. You know, we try to have an idea of what the other one's doing and work well together. And it's definitely easier when we do things together, for sure. But no, they're not going this year. TBD if they're going to do it in the future. I'm not here to spoil any of Jody's news, but I think the industry is trending that way. We're just we're not ahead, but we're ahead for our region. So
the facility has gone through a transformation. Some of it sexy, some of it not real sexy. A roof.
Are we going to talk about heat tape and the roof?
Oh, are you kidding me? Me and my heat tape.
This guy has to sign all the change orders, so.
Like, where are we at with heat tape?
Oh, more heat tape. $300,000 of heat tape.
I've spent 0 minutes in construction. These construction guys just look at me and shake their head back and forth. But there was about $9.25 million, I think, was or in that neighborhood anyway, in a new roof. Mm-hmm. There were some suites that have recently been remodeled. I think that was a little north of $2 million. Mm-hmm. The conference room is close. The conference rooms, the ballrooms, are almost done, and that project has come along swimmingly. These sorts of I'll call it a complete remodel of a facility, I think happens twice. The question that I would have for you, though, is that if they happen every 20 years, I suppose that's fine. But then we start tinkering with a sales tax. Do you have concerns that there's enough money?
I think there's always cuts, right? Like, I think we're really fortunate. We've got the 3/4% sales tax. That is the hospitality tax that's dedicated for capital that the voters put in place, 25 years ago. That now is extended in perpetuity. We'll be sharing that with the All True Sports Complex. So the city did a good job of taking our current capital plan and making projections and having conservative estimates. The finance people are not taking chances at City Hall. They do a really good job of making sure that their projections are always conservative, and they have a lot of assumptions built in. My fear has always been I don't want to be in front of city council fighting with All True Sports Complex manager of whose capital project's more important. I want us to work together. High Tides, it's a small community. They're in our parking lot, essentially. I would like to have a good relationship with them and not be fighting for dollars. And I think the city has done a good job of, putting our plan that we have our 20-year plan. I think we even go out to like 2060 something in our capital plan. Again, stuff's going to come up. We're not going to know everything, but we do a pretty good job of what's going to be the next fix. And they have that built in. But yeah, I mean, there's always cuts. There's never enough, right? But we're really fortunate that we have that funding mechanism because there's a lot of markets. And as you know, I'm a regional district manager, so I oversee a lot of venues in the Midwest. And we're very fortunate that we have that sales tax that we can depend on because there are markets where they're fighting, are we getting a new fire truck or are we getting a new scoreboard for the arena?
Right.
And those general fund conversations are much trickier than where we have a dedicated sales tax.
I think the venue showed a couple of things we'll just use Zach Bryan because last year was historic, really, and what happened here for shows. But what Zach Bryan showed me was, okay, first of all, big artists like that will come to our facility. So that's one. First 2-night artist in the history of the venue. So there was that. Massive amount of people were pushed through the door. The one thing that I was left thinking about was, my God, what an amazing 2 nights. That was the first thing. That was almost a year ago already. The second thing was when we have that kind of crowd, how much does parking concern you? I mean, I know we try to send, hey, if you can get on a bus at XYZ restaurant and get over, that's great. We can stage over at a different facility and park your car there, get on a bus, come over, that's great. But how does that, do you think, play into the experience? And somebody who deals directly with promoters, do they care about that?
I don't think the promoters care about that because, again, we are fortunate that we have so much parking. There's a lot of venues that don't have that kind of parking or don't control their parking. And so that's not like a question that's not a conversation that I'm having with promoters about parking at all. I would say from an experience standpoint, we want people to be able to get here however they want to get here, right? So we want to make sure we have enough parking spaces for like games such as, UND, NDSU, or Zach Bryan. We're always going to be limited on parking, and we're never doing one thing either. We're always doing a football game and 2 weddings, or so we've got the conference center rolling at the same time. And so we want to make sure we've got enough parking for those guests that we're holding back and our suite holders and then the general population. And we've done things like, stage and rent buses and do all of that. I don't think people love it. Like they get there, but it's a hassle. You have to park somewhere and get on a bus. I think Uber has helped a lot. The bars that do the buses, that's great. It's not very often we're running out of parking though. It's truly like a Zach Bryan or an NDSU. And generally, we work with the Crary family and Russell Crary, so shout out to him. But they let us use their grass lot on the other side, where we've been doing overflow parking as well. So we try to be proactive about that. We don't want to run out of parking without a plan. So if we know that ticket sales warrant, we're going to be putting those plans in place, or we're going to encourage people to use a different method of transportation. Yeah.
So the facility has, I suppose, I don't want to call them limitations, because if you can get 20,000 people to come anywhere for anything, that's
right.
That's pretty amazing. So when you think about getting the bigger shows in and then having the building's limitations, it really stands up though. Right?
Right. I think the challenge for us with parking is that we just have the 3 ins and 3 outs, right? So we've got like the North Drive, which is by the Verge. We've got Alerus Drive right in front of the venue, and then we've got the South Drive, which is where the All True Sports Complex is going to be. We've got the Hugo's Raceway BMX track, and then the Sleep In. So with that, it's like we're all dumping onto 42nd though, so we can only go as fast as we can go, and we spend a lot in parking attendants, and we spend a lot in police, and we get every police officer that's available for those big shows, and they often even sub that out to like sheriff's office and all of those, just to make sure that we've got enough traffic control so we can push people as fast as we can get them out. But I think the infrastructure, it's just not designed for that many people going in and out onto one road. And so that's a challenge, but we try to do our best to mitigate it as much as we can.
So booking shows, and again, I'm not going to ask you things like, I know there's only so many things you can talk about. In fact, I've been pretty well coached and versed on what we can talk about and what we can't. But when you have, and I was just like kind of an overall comment. So last year, as I mentioned, was historic. It seemed like everything sort of fell into place, and it was a great year for shows and whatnot. This year brought about some different challenges. So sometimes is that just shows aren't routed through this way, maybe artists just aren't touring. COVID, I think, made everybody a little anxious to get out on the road. So they did. So you booked.
Right.
And now it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I would say that booking is always cyclical, right? So for us, it seems that our even year numbers are better and odd year numbers are more challenging. I don't know why that is. It ebb and flows, and that's standard. It does that everywhere. But really, when it comes down to booking, people tell me all the time, like, "Oh, you work at the Alerus Center? Oh, you run the Alerus Center? You should book." Blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not a radio DJ.
I've been after you to get Beyonce forever.
Oh, that would be so cool, right?
She just giggles at me, by the way.
I know. I'm like, oh, good one, yeah.
Good one, JT.
I can't just spin the records, But I would say there's a lot that goes into it. It kind of comes down to just revenue, routing, and relationships, right? Like we've got great relationships with promoters, with OVG, and I've been doing this my whole career. Like everybody, and you're friends with everybody, and people want to work with the people that they like, right? So I think we've been fortunate. We've got some really good promoters in our corner for sure. So I think that we check that box. The revenue, we're always willing to make the best deal in the Dakotas. We're always willing to be aggressive. We're always willing to partner. And we're trying to maximize that revenue for the promoter and for the artist. So we play in the sandbox. So I think we check that box. It's usually a numbers game, and we've got seats, we've got inventory and capacity. So we're able to, get creative. But it's the routing. Sometimes it's hard to get tours up to, the very tippy top of the continental United States. So that's a challenge. But we try to overcome that with, the other two. So we're not going to get every show. There's some that just are simply skipping the upper Midwest, or they're not coming to North Dakota. But we're in conversations. And I think that's always, we're going to be in 100 conversations. We might get 2 shows, right? So it's just being aggressive and creative and being able to get up the next day when you're told no again and again and again, like a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Pop back up.
Do you find that, there's a venue in Fargo, I've heard.
Oh,
there's a venue in Winnipeg, right? Grand Forks is kind of in between. And then just a little bit further south, there's a big market. Do you find that it's more difficult? And Sioux Falls, I think, in that area plays into it too. I mean, I think a lot of artists think, wow, play Sioux Falls. Anybody from North Dakota that wants to see us will come down from North Dakota. How much does that play into it as well? And then having another venue right in your own city.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all of that comes into it. There's usually radius clauses on our offers. So we'll say, you can't play within 200 miles for 30 days, front or back, or whatever that is. So I think those are usually conversations. And even if we're putting in an offer, most agents and promoters aren't going to want to do that anyway because they don't want to hurt themselves, right? So
sure.
I would say it's usually like 4 hours. So if something's going on in Minneapolis or Sioux Falls, that's okay. That's actually routable for us. So we're doing one night here, and that actually helps us. But I would say our competition often is Winnipeg. Sometimes we have tours that it's a pain to get all those trucks and buses through the border. So sometimes they'll do it, and sometimes they're like, oh, we need another day, or we're going to skip the market because we want that time. So that can be a challenge. So Winnipeg is like sometimes helpful, sometimes hurtful. Fargo is always competition, always in the
hurtful category.
Always in the hurtful category. But you know what? I respect them too. And Rob's a nice guy and they do their thing, but I'm competitive and we're going to win and we're going to fight for Grand Forks. And that's what we're going to do. So like, don't say the F word to me. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear any of that. Like, I love bad words, but not that one, not that F word. I don't like it.
Funny.
So, yeah, I would say like, it's definitely a challenge and they're only going to play one. On occasion, we'll have tours that we'll do like Bismarck and Grand Forks, and that's enough separation that we're okay. But never Fargo, Grand Forks, unless it's something really small, like a Cirque Musica or something like that. And we usually have to both sign off on it and say, okay, I'll play if you play, and we'll, let it be. But we look at all that data too from Ticketmaster to see where we're pulling from. And on the big shows, we're 90% out of county. So we've got a lot. I mean, that's, again, the economic impact. And what we do. But that's what the building is here for, is to bring people from out of town.
Speaking of the F word, or Fargo in this case, they are going to move forward with the conference center.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people may not realize, of course, the shows, again, getting back to being sexy, the shows get all the sizzle,
Yes.
right? Where a lot of the steak is made at the Alerus Center is in those conference rooms, and why this remodel is so important and bringing it up to date. And the very talented Shelby Looker, extraordinarily excited about what it's looking like and how it's coming together. And I think the public, once they see it, is going to be like, my goodness, this was well done. But that breeds more competition for the Alerus Center. Does that change how you do business at all? Does that mean you go to more conferences? How does that affect things?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a couple years out. We'll probably still be okay from a local standpoint of all of the organizations that book with us. We felt a little bit of heartburn when Cloud9 came on board. We've got a lot of venues in this town. I mean, for a town of 50, 60,000 people in city limits, to have a Ralph Engelstad, beautiful venue, and to have the Alerus Center, beautiful venue, it's a lot of seats per cap. I mean, that's crazy. I don't think I can name another one. In fact, like when I'm at conferences, sometimes people are like, "Oh, you guys are the market that has the two big arenas, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's weird." But Jody's not here and we are, so book with us. Just kidding, Jody. So
he can handle it, by the way.
He can focus on hockey. Let me have the shows, man. Like, we all have our mission. But yeah, so I think like the Fargo Conference Center, we're not excited about it. It's the state associations and the stuff from out of the region that I think is going to be more competitive, and those often cycle anyway. So maybe we're getting a state association every couple years, and they're alternating between Bismarck and anywhere else, and with us. And I think it's just it's gonna hurt a little bit for sure. But I don't think that it's competitive in like weddings. It's like they're gonna have their market for that. We're gonna have our market for that. But I do anticipate some competition. And again, like, we continue to invest in these great projects in Grand Forks, and it brings the community forward, and that's awesome. But I've been saying for years, the measuring stick of which we determine success for the Alerus Center is going to change as all of these competition, the market gets more competitive. How we measure success is going to be a little bit different, I would say.
Yeah. I remember during the time when we were putting Choice Health and Wellness, the big message that one of the marketing message, and really at some level to try to make the public feel better about it, was what they know, or what they thought they knew, was that facility like that means that more people are actually going to get off the couch and work out. That the other smaller venues would work out. Yeah. I heard you paid for a membership at a place for a long period of time and never went, but that's an aside and maybe for a different time. But that all boats would rise.
Right.
And is that's not true in the conference world per se?
No, I don't think. I mean, there's only so many events, right? So
Sure.
I would say it's competitive. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say like, oh yeah, they're just going to make more events, or associations that put, and it's volunteers a lot of times, right? Like, they're putting their heart and soul into these galas and these events and their fundraisers for their organization. Like, you're not going to just have, we're going to have two. We're going to do two of them this year. No, they're not. Like, there's not going to be more events. That's silly. And so it's going to be, us or them on some of the regional things. And I think we just, again, have to make creative deals and be the easiest one to work with. And I say that with shows. It's like, okay, well, if you're routing a tour of 50 dates, was I the easiest conversation that you had today? And that's what I asked my promoter friends. Okay, good. That was the goal, right? Like, we're going to get to yes on everything that we can get to yes on. Artist needs a suite. Okay, we're going to make sure that happens. We're going to figure it out. So my hope is if we can continue to do that and be proactive and aggressive and creative, we'll be okay. But they're not going to make more events.
I've heard you say in a meeting, more than one meeting actually, where the goal of your staff is to get to yes. You don't necessarily care for the word no. It's not something that you're really interested in hearing, especially from your staff, right? When it relates to promoters and shows and things.
That's my toxic trait. I don't like to be told no in general. I really don't. And I don't like to tell other people no either. I think it's like, you tell us your goal, what you need, what you're trying to get to, and let's just try to find a way, right? And it might be no on this, but what's the alternative? There's never just a hard no. We went to booked Metallica if I accepted no. I hired and fired 5 or 6 engineering firms because they said, no, it's too big. The load won't work. Your rigging grid doesn't have the capacity for it. And I continued to say, well, don't go to the F word because we have a higher rigging capacity than that, and we're going to get to yes, and how can we bridle, and how can we change things, and if we just took no for an answer all the time, we wouldn't have the success that we've had. So I think inherently it is in our nature to try to get to yes and try to be creative, and it might not be the first path, but we'll go to plan B or C or whatever we have to do to get there.
So now I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about your leadership journey.
Oh.
How did you, who was the first person to kind of identify? Truth be told, Anna gets into a leadership position, I think even in really any industry, but certainly in yours, at a very young age, and progressed rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And as you referenced earlier, is now a regional general manager, so oversees many buildings and many people, many shows, many of all of it. So talk to me a little bit how that happened and who was the first person that said, you? Yeah,
that's a good question. So I've been doing this, I'm 35, so I've been doing this since I was 21 and started as an intern at the time it was called Sports Authority Field at Mile High, so the Broncos Stadium. And I worked for a professional lacrosse team, kind of got into it that way. I was on the marketing and ticketing side. I've always been kind of like a high achiever, go-getter. I don't sit down really well. So I think like that bodes well for events. And then I moved to Casper, Wyoming, and I was the director of marketing for the Casper Event Center, now the Ford Wyoming Center. And I also oversaw the marketing for the ski area, the golf course, the Rec Ice Aquatic Center, a museum, and the sports league, or all the, sports through the park district essentially would be here, the comparable. But my office was at the arena. And so I would say like the people that gave me a chance first, as a new college grad, 22, director of marketing, definitely young for that position, probably green. And I would say it was my first boss, Bud Davala. He's retired now. And then his boss, who was our leisure services director, and he oversaw all of those properties. And then I did the marketing for him. So I worked really closely with him. A gentleman named Doug Follick, and he just passed away a couple of years ago. But they kind of gave me a shot, and I remember them telling me like, you could be a GM, and I'm like, I don't want to be a GM. That sounds terrible. Like, no, nah, I'm good. I'll stick to marketing. Thank you. No, I'm good. And then I went to some conferences, and I got really involved with some people with a company called Global Spectrum, that then became Comcast Spectacor, that then became Spectra, that then became Oakview Group. And so I became good friends with these people. And I was like 22, 23 years old, sitting in the city manager's office, which again, probably no place to be in that room, like having this conversation, but was asking questions like, why are we not privately managed? We're an island. Like if people want to grow, there's nowhere to grow. There's only one GM, right? So if like you want to stay in Casper, there's only one position. What are our alternatives? And I didn't want to be a GM at that time. And, we're all just trying to get this one job. Is that the growth model here? Like, I don't understand. And then I talked a lot about like shows and routing and those relationships. And we can get more concerts if we're part of this network, and we can get intel, and we know what Denver's doing, or Loveland, and we know what these other venues are doing. We should be part of this. And so they ended up putting it out to bid. They did an RFP. And the company came in, and it took like 2 years. So I feel like I was with these guys forever. And that was a really good thing. They made me the assistant GM at the time, director of marketing. So I would say like my current boss, who's been my boss since I was 24 maybe, Rick Hans, he's based in Loveland, and he oversees like pretty much half the United States and part of Canada. He's a senior vice president for us, and he's believed in me and pushed me into it. And I, again, wasn't sure I wanted to be a GM, but I was like, okay, a GM, I'll be the number 2. I'll still get to wear my marketing hat, kind of like Derek Hoffert at the Alerus Center, who's our AGM and director of partnerships, and he does a wonderful job. He's awesome. He's a rock star.
He's a real talented
I hope
dude.
he doesn't listen to this though, because
Me either.
his head's going to get so big.
Land the plane, Derek.
Land the plane. He's going to get such an ego. Yeah. But no, he's fantastic. And so I thought that would be like a good role for me. And so Rick kind of pushed me into that. And then I got a text one night at 11. I kid you not. This is like a classic Rick story. At like 11 o'clock at night, I got a text from him while I was living in Casper, and it said, "You like Grand Forks?" ? What? I don't know. What do you mean? So like the next day I'm like, so I had to Google Grand Forks. I grew up in Elk River, Minnesota. 4 hours away. I had like college, high school friends that like went to UND. I didn't know anything about Grand Forks. I'm like, why is he asking me, "You like Grand Forks?" ? Like, are we cavemen? Why are we not using proper English? I don't know. So it was because we were putting in we were responding to an RFP here for the city of Grand Forks. And he's like, well, you're our candidate. Like, you're from Minnesota. You told me you wanted to get closer to home. And I said, I still don't know if I want to be a GM. I was 27. And he pushed me into it. And he's like, you'll be great. You just have to generally manage. All you have to do is just generally manage, Anna. You'll be fine. And so that story, and then like the rest is history. But I didn't want to be a crappy GM because I had seen some crappy GMs. You know, it's like, if I'm really good at being the AGM, I'm really good at being a director of marketing. I don't want to be a lackluster GM. And I think that was my fear. I don't think I've done that, but I would say Rick is the one that kind of pushed me into it. So 27, and Todd Feeland and Maureen, they all took a chance on me. Julie Rigg, she was our commission chair at the time. They all were like, let's give this girl a chance here. And I was 27, which again, super young for that role.
So what I find interesting, and again, current chair of the commission, you bring people in almost with the understanding that they're not going to be here forever. Mm-hmm. So you almost accept the fact it's kind of a transient time. I think you try to teach them everything you possibly can. You and Derek and others try to teach them as much as you possibly can with the understanding that they're going to go closer to their own homes, or maybe their desire is to work in bigger venues or bigger places. And I always think it's the coolest thing when Zach Bryan comes to town and it's all hands on deck. They come from all over the place to help.
It gives me chills. I love it.
It's amazing. I think that's a testament to your leadership, though.
And that was a hard one for me. And actually, you didn't plug yourself here. You worked, Zach Bryan.
You kidding me?
As security. Like the best, the security guy on the floor even.
I stood there ominous. I want you all to know.
But you were even on the floor. You had like a tough job. You had to wear the coconuts and like you had to hear all the radio calls.
Yeah. No, it was cool. It was great. No, it was great. But I've always been interested. Now, you like Grand Forks.
I love Grand Forks.
Now that you've found out all about it and been here a minute, you're digging it. Like to the point to where you want to stick around for a while?
Yeah, I want to stick around. My girls are 10 and will be 7 next week, so I want to get them through high school. I've been fortunate in my career. I've had a lot of really cool offers and really nice dollar amounts. And I'm really fortunate. I love my job. I love my job. I love our team. I have no intention of going anywhere. I wanted to continue to grow. And so that's why, like, with the district role, and hopefully my next step is regional vice president. So, Rick, if you're listening, I'm waiting on that title change, man.
I'll send you a link.
Waiting on the title change.
I'll send you a link, Rick. I'll send you a link.
But anyway, so no, I want to continue to grow and help other GMs and the region and the Midwest, and that's what I'm doing. But I don't ever want to not be with the Alerus Center. I love that building. That's a family member to me. I've been there for 8 years. Like, that place has my heart. So, no, I intend to stay. And to your point about like our little chickens that move on, that was a hard pill for me to swallow at first, because I felt like the first 2 years we were here, there was a lot of turnover, and that's natural when we're coming from like being city run into, privately managed. We're gonna have different expectations. And so we got some people that left, some that needed to leave, and, some that were harder to see go than others. But then, we would hire these people, and they were ambitious and they were talented, and they wanted to move back home, or they wanted to be closer to family, or they didn't like the winters. And I always tell them in interviews, like, get a coat that goes past your tush, right? Because that's like that's
You're
the
gonna
trick.
need it.
You're gonna need it. It's got to be a long coat. That's the how you beat winter. And so we've had a lot of that. But I decided one day, I don't know what clicked. I decided to just embrace it, and it was like, okay, well, if we can be a training ground, if we can be like the training ground for our company and for the industry in the upper Midwest, let's do that then. And so we invest in people. We ask their goals up front, so we know, because otherwise it hurts my feelings when they leave. If it's unexpected, I would rather have them tell me up front, like, I'm going to be here for a couple of years. Like Dominic, our director of operations, he says, I'll give you 3 to 5 years, and he's on 3 now. So I'm like,
I love Dominic. He's a great human being.
He's a great human being, but he is a man of few words.
He is.
So sometimes it's just like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. He'll come in and he'll just say, like, I was wearing Vans, which I do not wear Vans. I wear high heels almost every day. I had to wear them for a wedding, and I was breaking him in, and he came into the office. He didn't say a word. He just started laughing. He just started laughing at me. I was like, he is a different bird, but he's really good at his job. He's great. He wants to be a GM someday, so we're trying to, grow him. But he's from Texas, so we got to get him back to warmer weather. He's not a Grand Forks guy.
And he'll be great. I mean, when that day happens for him, he will be great.
Right. So I think if I'd rather have everybody tell me what their goals are. I know a lot of people. I can make connections for them. Let us invest in you. But You have to leave this building better than you found it. You have to leave your department better than you found it. And that's like the expectation. I think it is cool when we have these big shows. We'll fly people in from all over. You know, we've got one in California and one in New Jersey and one in Texas and 2 at US Bank Stadium and 2 at Target Center. And I think that's really cool that they've moved up and on, and, you know, we still stay in touch and they still have love for the building. And I'd rather pay them to come back and work at home because they know the venue and they know the team. And they know what the goals are and the expectation, and they'll work 48 hours straight with us, and we'll be, you know, working overnight from football to get ready for football from a concert. So yeah, we're proud of our baby chickens. We've had a lot of really cool talent that's come through.
Now, a couple of things, and then I promise I'll get you out of here. Weirdest, you know, certainly don't breach any confidentialities or anything. Have you had any weird like rider requests from artists or shows that stand out that you're like, so yellow parakeets as you walk into the door? I mean, never done that before, but I'll try to make that happen for you type stuff.
No, I mean, some of them are unique, and I think sometimes it's like, you know, everybody knows I don't even remember who it was, but everybody kind of references like the only green M&Ms or whatever, right? I think it's so people are reading it. Because if you think about artists, they're on the road, and the crews, they're on the road all the time. And so you want to be the most like hospitable, you want to make them feel welcome. You know, you can really screw up a day by screwing up breakfast, right? When we're loading in, if something goes wrong at load in or breakfast, like it's going to be really tough to recover from. But they're on the road all the time. So like I'm on the road for work, and I'm a Marriott snob. Like I want to be at the Marriott because I don't want to be at a Super 8, you know, and like you want those comforts. And so I think we do our best to accommodate those things. And again, we'll never say no on a rider request. But yeah, I think you see some interesting things. I would say the weirdest one, and I have no confidentiality here, so I'm going to put it out there. I had a weird day with Bill Cosby a long time ago.
I hear that was pretty common.
Yeah, not that weird. Not that weird. But it was a weird day. And he had some really interesting rider requests. He had to have a chef on for like 24 hours in case he needed something. And this was in Casper. And the poor man at the time, like he had really poor eyesight. And so I had to sit with him and click through the TV. And I stayed in his dressing room with him most of the day, which is not common, by the way. And this was before all the news came out. So now like hindsight 2020, I'm like, oh, that was probably kind of weird. Yeah. But he had like a certain, you know, sweater that he had to have that said "Hello Friend." I had to have like certain colors, had to have like certain like texture, certain size of the font. It had to be stitched. There was a lot of things. A certain bathrobe. I was like at the Macy's when they had a Macy's in the mall back in the day in Casper. You know, it's like here our mall, kind of a bummer. But like running through trying to find certain like thread counts, and this is before Amazon Prime, right?
Sure,
so
yeah.
I would say that was the weirdest one. And then he gave me his rider had the wrong bar of soap that he wanted, and so he wrapped it up in a paper towel and gave it to me. And he said, "This is the wrong soap." And I said, "Oh gosh, that was in your rider. Like, well, we can send somebody out. We'll send the runner out. What's the correct soap, Mr. Cosby? Like, what do you need?" And I don't know if we ended up finding what he needed, but he gave it to me. He said, "Are you married?" And I was like a newlywed at the time. And he's like, "All the diseases come from the husband. You give this to your husband." And so I brought home a wrapped bar of soap. And I said, "Hey man, this is from Mr. Cosby." So yeah, there's been some weird times. And I put my hands in puke at a church concert, and you know, it's not glamorous. Like we work a lot of hours, and there's some really strange requests and some really icky things that you see when you deal with the public on that level.
Yep.
But it's fun. Keeps it interesting.
I got to tell you, I've often thought, because the exposure that you have to all of these artists and to their people and to all of the things that, you know, when they say no, I mean, he would like that not cooked. He would like it raw. Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, to each their own. I mean, the creative mind and the creative sort is a completely different animal altogether.
Right. And you got to think, again, they're on the road all the time. A lot of these people are like, they're so talented. I don't know how they can live the life that they do and then be able to perform the way they do. And let's think about like rock and roll in the 70s and 80s, and everybody was on drugs and they're doing it, and like the muscle memory of like how they can perform at the level that they perform. So yeah, if you want all green M&Ms, like we're going to get you all green M&Ms, like whatever you need. So I think that's just our job, is like, how do we make it as comfortable as possible for them so that they can do their thing and put on a good show for the people that buy a ticket and come to see them.
So, final thing I have for you is 2025 booking, I suppose. I never say never, but is about done.
Yeah.
So you're, I'm sure, well thinking about 2026.
I'm already stressing about it. Would be
Yes. And you'll learn that right away if you spend any time with Anna.
I'm a perennial. Every year I start panicking about May. I start popping up again after winter.
How is 2026 looking? I know you've just returned from a conference. Is it more optimistic about next year? Not necessarily promising for the Alerus Center, but just in general, more artists going to be out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, 2025 was a grind. I would say from last summer after Zach Bryan or before Zach Bryan, I didn't book a show or confirm a show for the longest time in my career. It was a dry spell and it was a dark period. Ask anybody that works with me. They were pretty over it. They're like, can we just book a damn show because this woman is annoying and we're sick of it. And I'm like, I know, guys, like every day it was just like doom and gloom. And I was like, what's happening? And I had to make some really aggressive deals to fill our calendar for 2025. And we're super thankful it came in the back end. Like Q4 is great. We've got Cole Swindell, we've got Gabriel Iglesias, we've got Mercy Me, we've got Styx and Loverboy. We've got good content. That was tough and it was really difficult. And we would lose a show like every day that we had to hold on. And it was even Derek was starting to feel bad for me. And he's like the one that gets to hear the most of it. And he was pretty over it at that point. But he would even like send me a text like, hey, everybody knows you're like working hard. You're doing great. Like we believe in you.
You were grinding.
He had to like.
You were grinding though.
It was hard. Yeah, it was tough. I would say 2025 is going to be great. It's not going to be a banner year. We're budgeted at a loss, so we're going to be in the red, but we've got good shows. We've got something in every kind of genre, which is great. And so 2025 is good. 26, we've got more holds, I would say, an activity in our calendar at this time than we did last year for sure. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic that we're going to have some good things drop. I'm waiting for those confirmations. So again, universe, put it out there. I need these show confirmations, but I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm looking at a few things for like next summer already. So I think there will be more activity. I don't feel like I have anything for Q1 or 2, so that scares me, but I think it'll be okay.
So putting a hold means you're at least at a point with a promotion company or with an artist or whatever that says, yeah, we're going to be here January 9th. Looks like we're going to have an open date. We might be able to do something the 11th and 12th. Yep. And then you respond with, should I put a hold on that date? Yes.
And so essentially, we'll send avails. So it's like our availabilities. And we've got our annual events that come back every year that we hold for. And we'll call that like a first hold. So they're in the first position. And then I'll, tell a promoter like, okay, you guys have a hold 1, first position on X, Y, and Z date. Or you have a hold 2 or whatever that is. And then, we can get into like challenging dates where we can try to bump and that sort of thing. But yeah, we've got a lot of good holds out there. And then it comes time that they start singling, like funneling down their routing. So where they're going to be, and they have usually multiple like routings, and then they decide, artist management, all of that, like where they're going to go. So then I'll say, okay, like if we're ready to lock in a date, can I release the other holds back into my calendar to give them to somebody else? And you try to protect too, like we try not to have too many of the same genre within a month. And so there used to be, pre-COVID, there used to be a lot of protection windows. So we would say like no country, 30 days front or back of Carrie Underwood or whatever it is. It takes you out for a quarter. So you need that show to come through. And some used to be really protective, and they would say of any concert. And I'm like, I can't shut down for a quarter. That's crazy. So then I would like, scratch it out and I'd amend it and write like country or rock or whatever it is. Or active rock is different than classic rock and some of those nuances. But that has really changed post-COVID. Like we did Eric Church and Luke Combs 2 weeks apart, and they both sold amazing record shows. And I think our market has been good, and our fans have been good to us and supporting us, and we wouldn't be anywhere without the community, right? So we can support more shows, and I think there's less protections in place post-COVID because people wanted to get back on the road. It's just a little bit more like transparency and conversation. Like, okay, this artist is going out. I have holds on this day. Do you still want these holds? And then it's like more of a dialogue. Okay, like reach out to marketing partners. Do you think the radio and you and do we feel like the market can support it? And then we look at data and sales history of what we've done in the past. But yeah, so long answer.
when are you like? Is the tried and true when that contract is signed by all parties? that's the only way you really know that they're coming.
Well, you poked the bear, Jarrod. The only way that you know they're really coming, Jonas Brothers, is when the trucks are on the dock, when the trucks are on the loading dock and the lights go down and the show comes on. And that's when you know. I would say contracts and all the things you want in place, and you've made the announcement and we're ready to go. Is the show really going to go on? Until that artist is on stage, I'm sweating bullets until they're on.
To refresh everybody's memory, the Joe Bros were scheduled, I believe, for a November show that year.
They were, yes,
and
Friday.
They got an opportunity to go perform, I believe, for College Game Day, which happened to coincide with the date that they had at the Alerus Center.
It was the next day, and we were all going to work 48 hours straight.
That's right. Yep, and they didn't want to, is what it basically boils down to. Get on a plane, go out, do the 3 minutes, which I believe it would have been, I think it ended up being less than that, actually. 3 minutes for College Game Day because they felt bigger audience, more exposure, whatever they felt. And ended up, they were going to reschedule initially, right? And so all the tickets get held, all that, because they're going to reschedule. And then they never do. And then the thing that struck me about that was, I don't know. I don't think anybody should ever do that, regardless of where you are in this world. If you're Aerosmith or the Rolling Stones or any of these artists that have been around forever, that I mean, I even have a hard time saying it. Maybe I've earned the right to pull a stunt like that.
Right.
But these guys, man, and then there was like little or no, like, so I don't know. How about next week? How about 3 weeks from now? How about next month? How about first quarter of next year? How about nothing? Right.
And we were working on dates. I think I got the notification on a Tuesday, and I had a meeting going on in my office, and I have like a conference table in my office, and I was on my computer, and I got an email. I missed a call from our promoter, and I got an email from him that said we're rescheduling. And I'm dramatic, right? Like, I'm gonna freak out about some things, but not on the big stuff. Like the big stuff, you just have to go into work mode. I stubbed my toe though, and everybody's gonna know about it, right? Like, it's perspective. And I just like looked at it, and I turned around and I said, "Hey, Derek, call everybody in here." And he's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "We're rescheduling." This was for Friday. It was a Friday concert. This is Tuesday. I've got people on planes, trains, and automobiles coming to Grand Forks right now. The Calvary, all of our chickens that have moved on to all of these other markets that are coming back, because we were going to go Joe Bros into football. And when we do that, we are all hands on deck. And truly, I don't leave the building for 48 hours. I take a shower in the locker room. You maybe get an hour nap somewhere in there, and you rock and roll. And so, yeah. And then we worked for several months trying to find a new date. We had lots of new dates, and I thought it was going to happen. For whatever reason, it didn't. But yeah, that was a disappointing one. It was really hard on us. It was really hard on the fans. And it's like, just give us a statement. Like, tell us it was your boyhood dream to be with your brothers on College Game Day, or, give the fans something. So that was, and I'm saying too much now because I shouldn't be so candid about this, but it was really discouraging. So that one was a gut punch.
But for most 90+%, when you have a signed contract, and barring an act of God or any unforeseen circumstance, they are.
Yep. And once we made the announcement, and again, like, that was an anomaly. I've never had a show do that, especially that close to the date, other than COVID, when everything was canceling during COVID, and all of our shows rescheduled for COVID.
That's act of God stuff, right?
Right. So I think, like, and you got to be careful as the venue, because if you cancel too many shows for low ticket sales or whatever, you get a reputation, and the fan can't trust you. So then they wait. Now you change the buying behavior, and they wait to the last minute, which then doesn't behoove your chances of getting more shows, because now promoters are panicking because we're waiting to the last minute. So buy your tickets early and often is what I'm saying, because it helps us bring more shows here. And so that one hurt. It was totally not in our control, but it's like, we don't ever want to be the venue that's canceling things. And it wasn't poor ticket sales. I can't disclose the number, but it was.
They were doing okay.
They were doing really well. Yep. And it would have been what we define as a major concert. So,
it's just I find the business, I find most businesses, but certainly I find your business to be very fascinating, just because through the years I've had some exposure to this. I mean, we had an event not long ago where we had an artist that wouldn't take the stage unless the towels that he wiped his face with were black instead of white.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This was your outdoor. Not to name names.
Yeah,
but.
the old Hot Valley Nights, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, these are supposed to be black and they're white.
Right.
I was like, it's a towel. Effing towel.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but they need to be black because I don't want anybody. I think his concern was, I guess he wore a little makeup, and he didn't want anybody to see the smear.
Oh, sure.
And I thought foundation, certainly you would know better than I, foundation would be seen from out on.
Right.
And
on the
I was
towel.
like, wow, okay.
Okay. We'll get you some black
We'll
towels.
get you some black towels,
We'll
man.
run to, what do we even have here?
Yeah.
We'll run to Home Goods right now.
Yeah. So like you do, you do it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
14 people, it felt like, all left at the same time
Right.
to go find black
Yeah.
towels that had to be a certain length and a certain size. And we were able to locate some, and he took the stage when he was supposed to and played
Thank
for the
God.
length of time he was supposed to, which of course is the ultimate goal, but nobody knows
All the behind the scenes.
all the behind stuff
Yeah.
that's going on. And then he wanted us to make sure that the beer that he had asked for was almost so cold that he couldn't drink it.
Oh.
And I was like, well, Roger that, man. So
Does he use some Sensodyne on his teeth? Because I feel like that would be
we
crispy.
I mean, I don't know how you respond to that, but so we put it all in a cooler, and then there was ice on top of ice on top of ice, and he apparently was
cold enough to drink.
satisfied. But again, I think that's like a green M&M test, right?
Yes, right.
If I would have handed him a beer and it was warm, he would have looked at me like, what the hell?
Right.
But so long as it came from a cooler, I think he was fine.
Yes, but I think they have to be specific because you get some yahoos that, there has to be water. Okay, well, now if you're at Hot Valley Nights, is it a garden hose? And you're filling your,
Right.
you have to be
Yeah.
specific. That's why it's this many Fijis
Yep.
or whatever it is.
Yep.
And again, I don't blame them for that because they're on the road all the time. But there's been some interesting. I've got a lot of stories. Someday I should write a book because there's
Well, you should write a book.
There's a lot of interesting things I've seen. One, I had to get Mr. T-Pain off of his bus because he was an hour and a half late. Rap shows, man, they're never on time. Love them, never on time. But he was drinking 99 bananas, and I had to get him off his bus because he was an hour and a half late for a meet and greet, which was then pushing the whole show behind.
Sure.
And there was no sense of urgency. And
The stuff I find too is like the contract reads you're going to play for 65 minutes.
right, yeah,
And they think nothing of leaving the stage at 55 minutes.
right.
60 minutes. Doesn't seem like a big deal.
But to the fan that paid to be there,
Well, and to the people that are paying for them to be there, look, man, go
Right.
70 minutes. Don't go 60.
right,
Just
right.
play
And
one
there's
more
been-
song.
And there's been some, I think like we have been fortunate where we've got artists that do put on a really good show here. And I think they like the audience and they like the crowd and they'll go longer. And so, like Luke Combs, Eric Church, Zach Bryan, Carrie, like we've had so many good shows, Thomas Rhett, and a lot of them are playing longer. And we think we get the set list, right? And you probably got the set list when you worked for us for Zach Bryan. So you know kind of what's going to happen. And it's not uncommon for like that encore to be like, well, if he's having a good night or she's having a good night, like it might be 3 songs rather than 2, or it might be 2 instead of 1. And so you can kind of like feel the vibe of how the artist night was. And I think we've been really fortunate that they come here and they put on a really good show. But there's always some interesting things that go on, behind the scenes with whatever it might be. But I think we've been lucky for sure.
And for us, it's on a smaller scale with artists who generally their career has more runway behind them than it does in front of them.
Legacy acts, evergreens.
Yes,
that's what we call them.
yes, legacy acts that, and they're nice about it. And they the ones that really understand where they are in their career, that is very helpful because they're just so appreciative that people still want to pay some shillings to come out and see them perform.
Right.
And they're just happy to be there.
Yeah. I think I met Charlie Daniels a long time ago. And I think his book was called like Never Look at the Empty Seats or something. I haven't read it. I should though. But the sentiment was cool. It was like, hey, people are here to see me. I'm going to put on the best show that I can. I'm not going to pay attention to who's not here. I'm going to pay attention to who is here. And I thought that was like a good perspective. So I didn't read it, but he talked to me about it in his dressing room. So I'm not a big reader.
And you were just like,
I exposed myself.
okay,
Yeah. I was like 23 and I was like, that's a really good perspective on life though. Like never look at the empty seats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, with that, Anna, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. It started with a conversation about cashless, and that caused a little fervor at the time. The first time I asked, you were traveling, but the second that
New Orleans,
the second that your life settled down a little bit and you got back in market, she actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, you still want to do podcasts?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun.